you are not growing and it's not what you think. Why are we stuck? Why are we circling the wagons over and over? Why do we keep setting big goals, having big dreams, saying this year, this time, this business, this new me, this will be different? And yet our results look pretty much the same as they have looked before. What is causing this? Why are we stuck and it's not what you think? Why are we stuck? Well, listen, we get stuck for a lot of reasons, but most of the reason is we're not doing the right things. We're doing things, they're just not the right things. Or we're doing the right things, but we're not doing them in the right amount. We're going to the gym, but only once every 90 days. We can't figure out why we're not feeling better, right? Or maybe we're not doing it with the consistency. We keep putting the cake in the oven for 2 minutes, taking it out for a week, and being so frustrated that it's not happening. We are stuck. We get stuck when we are fundamentally following the wrong plan or process. That's when we get, if we're working, if we are productive, if we are busy doing the things of our business, of our life, but we're not seeing the results, it's probably because we're busy doing the wrong things. We're busy doing the wrong things. Busy and productive are two different things. There are a lot of people out here today, and they're grinding away at all the things that all the Googler, right? The chat GPT, what should I do about this, right? You're getting unqualified advice from unvetted sources, or sometimes good advice, but from a bad perspective. And good advice from a bad perspective is bad advice because it doesn't fit you. It doesn't fit you. Here's what I want you to understand. There's nothing wrong with you. I think one of the big lies that we fall into, one of the big beliefs that we hold that keeps us stuck is that something is wrong with us. Man, I should be further ahead than now. No, you shouldn't. You should be exactly where you are now. The quality of your thoughts, actions, and beliefs has gotten you where you are now. And if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Let me say something to you, okay? Frustration, and I understand being frustrated. I spent several years stuck within 10 grand a year of income of myself, several years. And then I went from 300 grand a year to $1 million a year in a year, right? What happened? I got unstuck. And man, I was so frustrated because it's not that I wasn't working. I was working very hard. I was working very hard at the wrong things. I was working very hard from the wrong perspective. And so I was doing things. I just wasn't doing the right things in the right way. And when that changed, everything changed. But man, I remember being so frustrated, looking around saying, look at all these other people winning. What's wrong with me? What am I not getting here? What have I not figured out? And then I started doubting myself. Like, is this where God wants me? Is this a sign? Maybe this is a sign. If you're stuck and frustrated right now, it is a sign. It's a sign that you need to do something different. Not have a different vocation or a different path. You need to do the same thing in a different way. Same thing in a different way. Frustration is a tool if it moves you to different action. Let me say that again. Frustration is a tool if it moves you to different action. First thing we need to do, listen, if we want to change, is we got to reframe that frustration. Because if we don't reframe that frustration, that same thing that could be a tool that develops in us a movement into a different direction can actually demoralize us and stop us from making any changes. Well, why even bother? It's probably not going to work anyways. I'm behind anyways, probably not going to matter. No, we got to reframe that. Understand that frustration from being stuck is a tool if it moves you to different action. So here's the question. What are you going to do? You're frustrated. Okay, fine. Frustration is par for the course when it comes to leadership and success. Great leaders are going to be frustrated a lot because there's always going to be a differential between the vision they see and the reality they're living. And our job as a leader is to bridge that gap. It's to cross that chasm. That's our job. And if we don't do different things, we're not going to get different results. See, many of us are working very hard at things that don't work or that did work. Let me say that again. We're working very hard at things that don't work. They're not moving the needle. We're reading all the books. We're listening to all the audios. We're coming to all the trainings, but we're not doing the one or two things that really move the needle. We're doing everything except for those things. And we feel like we're working, but we're not working. We're just consuming. We're learning. We're acquiring knowledge without producing anything of value with that knowledge, right? We're doing things that don't work Or what's even more frustrating is when you're doing things that did work. What is did? They worked 10 years ago. They worked 20 years ago. This used to work for me. This is how I built this stuff. This is what my leader says to do. And we have these out of date, out of touch processes and systems that just don't get the results that get results now. It's just a different world, right? And so if we want things to be different, we've got to do something different. And so listen, frustration is a tool if it moves you to different action, but also listen to this. Frustration without change is self-inflicted misery. Let me say that again. Frustration without change is self-inflicted misery. So let me ask you a question. Are you frustrated where you are in your business? Are you making all the money you want to make? Do you have the quality of life that you want to have? Do you have the work-life balance? Are you able to be a hero to your kids and a hero in the business? Are you able to do those things, or are you frustrated? If you're frustrated, let's admit that, and then let's get to making some changes. Let's get to making some changes. So understand this, okay? You're not broken. You're just misaligned. What you are doing and what you want are not in alignment, or what you are doing and what you want are out of alignment with what you value. Maybe you don't feel good about what you're doing. You feel guilty that you're missing time at home when you're at work, and then you feel guilty about being behind at work when you're at home, and you're just like never really anywhere, and you're in this purgatory of business and leadership. And listen, I get that. Listen, you've been busy all year. You've been busy all year. But if we're being real, you're still not where you thought you'd be, right? Okay, if that's you, you need to listen. Let's talk about why you're stuck, okay, and how to stop dragging last year's problems and last decade's problems into the future. We're getting to the halfway point of 2025. If you don't do something different now, nothing's going to be different about how this year ended from how it began. If we want a different ending, we've got to change the story. We got to flip the script. We got to do something what? Different. Do something what? Different. We've got to do something different. That's what we got to do. Okay, and so let's talk about the reason high-level people like you, people who are high capacity, they got big dreams, they're willing to do the work. Listen, you're not on here unwilling to do the work, right? Like everybody gets that, right? Like if you're not going to do the work, it's not going to help you. Like everybody understands that. Okay, but if you are doing the work, why you're not getting where you need to go? Okay, because you don't have an aligned system and a process. In other words, you haven't taken a look at what you want, what it's going to take to get there, and how to do it sustainably and enjoyably. One of my mentors used to say, it's a feel good, do good business. And what he was saying is the better you feel about yourself and the better you feel about what you're doing, the better you're going to do with that thing, the more you're going to do with it, the better results you're going to get, the longer it's going to go. And a lot of people have gotten away from that. It's like a whatever it takes, as long as it takes grind culture. And I get that. There's nothing wrong with that idea. But how about let's feel great about what we're doing so we want to do it instead of avoiding it like the plague? That's a good place to be. Well, that's about creating an aligned process, an aligned system that isn't just noise and hustle and pressure to perform, right? But it's something that you feel like, man, I'm growing as a person by doing this. I'm being fulfilled by this. I can see this as a path to the goals and the dreams that I have. This is something that I could do sustainably. I enjoy it. It fulfills me. It makes me better. And I feel good about the contribution that I'm making. And that's about creating a sustainable process, something that we can do every day, where we don't need to be a rock star every day. We just need to show up and do the simple things every day that make the difference. Okay. And so here's this. Okay. Most people confuse activity with progress. They're very busy going nowhere. But progress comes when you are focused on the things that move the needle. Income producing activities and self-developing activities. Moving the needle in those two things is what allows us to get traction. When we're putting time and effort and energy into people that don't fit our future, into people and processes and systems that don't fit our future but fit our past, we're not going to get the traction that we need to have. Okay, we're not going to get the traction. And so we got to focus on those high value activities. I had a couple of people text me over the last couple of days, coaching clients. I have two guys that are having their first $100,000 income months this month. Okay, the first time they made $100,000 in a month. I feel so bad for them. Hopefully one day they get out of poverty and start making real money. Okay, but 100 grand in a month is not a bad place to be. Okay, and they're making 100 grand this month for the first time. One of them's in finance, one of them's in real estate. Okay, so two different businesses. I coach both these guys, and both of them were making 15 to 30,000 a month when we started. Now they're making six-figure months, and they're actually doing it with a much better balance in their life than they were doing $20,000 and $30,000 months with before. Why? Because we found things that made them progress. Okay, that not just busyness. They weren't just busy doing all the things people told them to do. They were busy doing the exact right thing they needed to do for where they are. Well, how do we figure that out? Well, we work together to find that. Where are you? What do you need here? Because remember, people, listen, when you're doing work, but you're stuck, you're doing things that don't work or you're doing things that did work. See, both of these guys, they were doing stuff that did work. It worked before. It worked at a small level. It worked 10 years ago when things were really different. We had to go back in there and we had to change some thinking, change some paradigms. But when we did that, we were able to focus on the few things that mattered most, not the massive things that matter least. And when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like you don't have any time, when you feel like I can't possibly put one more thing on my plate, when we think I need to do more to win, we are out of alignment. We don't need to do more to win. We need to do less to win. And we need to do more of the right things inside of that less. It's when we cut out the crap that don't matter that we can become very, very clear about the stuff that does matter. And most people are frustrated to get out and they're working very, very hard at all the stuff that doesn't matter and missing the things that do. And it's costing you so freaking much, guys. Listen, my goodness, I have met so many incredible people, so many incredible leaders who have the world at their fingertips. They have capacity to go on and make 6 figures a month. They could make 7 figures a month, but they burn out and they quit and they pack it up and they submit to a life of average and ordinary, to settling where they are. And it's so sad. It's so sad for them, but it's so sad for the people who are going to be affected by their gifts in a positive way. See, listen, when you give up, it's not just you giving up. It's giving up on all of the people that you are supposed to help. Do you understand? There's some people's dreams that are attached to your dream. In other words, they can't begin theirs till you finish yours. Your dream is going to be the stepping stone on which their dream is built. And when you don't accomplish that, right? When you give up your health because you're frustrated, when you lose your marriage because you're gone all the freaking time doing things that don't matter instead of doing the things that do, when you finally break down and give up on yourself and on your dream because you're like, I've been doing this for so freaking long. If it was going to happen, it happened by now. Folks, the cost of survival mode is too high a price to pay. It's just a matter of time before the people around you give up on your dream. And then it's just a matter of time before you give up on your dream. And once your dream is dead, you're done. You got to understand this. We can't wait forever. We got to make these changes now. We got to make them now. We can't wait. We can't gamble with our future. We can't gamble with our calling. We can't gamble with our destiny. But that's exactly what most people are doing when they keep doing the same things, hoping that it gets better, right? The definition of insanity is what? It's doing the same things over and over again, but expecting different results. Frustration without change is self-inflicted misery. Right? I want things to change, but I don't have anything to change. I don't know where to begin to change. I don't know what to change. I'm afraid if I make this change, I might lose what I have. That's why feedback and perspective and having the right people in your corner matters, right? Because those people can guide you. They've been there before. They've done something with it. That's so freaking important. And so I just want to share with you a quick story of a coaching client of mine. I'm going to leave her name off, but she's amazing. We've worked together for a couple of years. And listen, we took her income up $200,000 a year, essentially, $150,000, $200,000 in like 6 months. $15,000, $20,000 a month pay raises in 6 months. And then she stalled out and she's just sort of plateaued there. And we went round and round. It was really a tough process, right? So many times She wanted to give up. So many times you could just see the defeat in her eyes. And I had to keep reminding her, like, look, that greatness is in you, but you got to let it out. She just didn't know how to do it. She didn't know how to let it out. And what we did, we had to cycle all these limiting beliefs until we found that one core misalignment. And here's what she was afraid of. You know what she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a business leader. Here's what she was afraid of. She was afraid that at the end of the day, that she would regret the choice she made to grow her business. She was afraid that she'd get to the end of her time with her kids and she'd look back with regret and say, that was the wrong choice. I shouldn't have worked so hard. I shouldn't have done these things. I missed all of this. I don't want that to happen. She was afraid that she was going to ruin her family life by going after her business. So she'd put the foot on the gas for a couple of weeks and then take it back off. And she had all these conflicts, these inner conflicts all the time. And you could see her wrestling with this. And what we had to do is we had to go in and we had to create alignment. So I took her through a process where we went to those places and said, well, what if that happened? Let's go there. Let's live that out. How would you respond? What would life be like? And by going to that place, it was so painful to go there in her mind. But by going to that place, what she realized, number one, was that even if that occurred, even if she did regret that, right, that life was still beautiful in so many ways. And that all of the relationships she was worried about were still incredible in so many ways. Number one. But the second thing, and the more important thing that she saw through that process was that she could be in control of how now that she knew what that fear was, now that she verbalized that thing, now that she named it, now that she could talk about it instead of being too scared to ever say anything about it. Now she knew what she was having to avoid. We could build a process that both honored her family life, gave her more time than she had there, more purposeful time there, and grew her business at the same time. She's been breaking, listen, this is going to be her second month in a row of breaking her all-time personal records in her business, right? And she's doing it in less time working and without the guilt. Right? That's amazing. That's what we're talking about, right? And that's why most people don't get free and they stay stuck, is they don't want to address the hard things. They don't want to change the stuff they're doing. They just want to be frustrated and complain instead of frustrated and change. But listen, if you want a new outcome, you need a new way. If you want your results to be different, you need to do something different. Well, coach, what do I do? Where do I begin? Well, I'm going to be sharing that with you on June the 18th. I'm doing a free live training, okay, called the Wealthy Leaders Playbook Mid-Year Reset. The 5 moves to make right now. I say, hey, if I were stuck, knowing what I know now, here's the 5 things I would do right now to get unstuck. And here's what I would do in the middle of the year to make sure that the end of the year finishes the way that I want it to, that I don't stay stuck and go around the sun another time and stay in the same freaking place that I've been in this whole time. And man, if you're frustrated where you are, if you know there's more in you, if you feel like you're just circling the wagons, if you feel like you tried it before and it hasn't worked for all, whatever that might be, you need to come to this. It's totally free. It doesn't get any cheaper than that. It's totally free, okay? And if you feel like there's more in you, but you're falling behind, this is for you. I'm going to give you 5 specific moves to realign, to reset, and to scale faster without the burnout. The feel good, do good business. Something you feel like, man, where was this my whole life? Why didn't I learn this 10 years ago? I'm energized. I'm excited to do the things I used to be keeping away from me with a 10-foot pole. Man, I'm fired up. I'm focused, and I'm more present at home, and I'm showing up for me, and physically I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm making more money than I've ever made. That's for you. So what do? How do you register? Number one is you can scan a little QR code on here and get registered. The second thing you can do is comment reset, and we'll send you that link right away. And share this with your people. Share this with your teams, because understand this. If you don't help your people overcome frustration, you won't have those people. Let me say that again. If you don't help your people learn how to overcome frustration, if you can't give them a duplicatable process to help them get results, you won't have those people for long. They will give up on their dream, because listen, this people are like water. They follow the path of least resistance, okay? The harder something feels, the less likely they are to do it. You got to make it fun, simple, easy, and rewarding. I'm going to show you exactly what I would be doing if I were you to reset, to flip the script, to make the rest of this year the best of this year. Let's